Hi, I'm Dr. Millie Derricks, and today we're going to talk about the myth of the labyrinth and the Minotaur. Myths are a great reservoir of information, especially for the archetypes, talking about young. So they're a great metaphor to know what's going on inside us. The myth of the labyrinth and the Minotaur starts in Crete, when King Minos was reigning. And King Minos was a very devout king who made sacrifices to the god Neptune. Being an island nation, the sea was a very important part of their lives. So, having the god Neptune in a good mood was a very good idea. And what they did was sacrifice bulls to Neptune. One day, Zeus, father of the gods, sent along a beautiful, perfect specimen of a white bull. And when Minos saw the bull, he couldn't go ahead with the sacrifice because he was just too beautiful and too perfect. So he kept that bull for himself and sacrificed another bull to Poseidon. Poseidon took offense at this and decided to take revenge. So he made the wife of Minos fall in love with the bull. And when she did, she became pregnant with the Minotaur. And when she gave birth to the Minotaur, it was evident that it was a revenge of the gods, so they couldn't just kill the Minotaur. They decided to hide it away because he was not only monstrous, he was the head of a bull and the body of a man, but he was a flesh-eating monster. So he ate human flesh. So what King Minos did was bring a very renowned architect called Daedalus to design a labyrinth for him in the underground of Crete. In the underground of the palace, they did this labyrinth. And they put the Minotaur in there. And they had to feed him human flesh. So of course he didn't want to put Minoans, so he asked this tribute of Athens, which was one of his conquered lands. And Athens had to send 7 young men and 7 young women every 9 years to feed the Minotaur. And they paid the tribute twice. And the third time they were going to pay the tributes, when they saw the boats from Crete approaching Athens with the black sails, meaning that they came for the youths to be sacrificed, the king's son, called Theseus, decided to put his life, to offer his life to save Athens. So he went instead of one of the chosen youths. And when he arrives in Crete, and they're all made prisoner there, the daughter of the king, called Ariadne, is walking around, and she sees Theseus and falls in love with him. And when she falls in love with him, she doesn't want him to die. So she brings a piece of string and a magic sword and gives them to Theseus. And the string, she says, tie it outside of the labyrinth so you can go in and look for the Minotaur, which you will be able to kill with this magic sword, and then be able to come out of the labyrinth through the string. So he's got the tools to be able to do this task. So in goes Theseus into the labyrinth the next day with his tools. And he ties the string outside of the labyrinth and goes inside looking for the Minotaur. He eventually finds the Minotaur in the center of the labyrinth, in a whole space, dark and damp and full of human bones. And he's terrifying. He's terrified of the Minotaur because he is a horrible, monstrous beast. But he approaches it with the magic sword and is able to kill the Minotaur. And then pull himself out of the labyrinth with the string. So after he does this and saves Athens from this tribute in the future, King Minos is very angry, furious actually. So he fetches Daedalus, the architect, because the whole idea of the labyrinth was that nobody could find the door. The door was hidden, so nobody should be able to come out of the labyrinth alive, and Theseus had. So as a punishment, he puts Daedalus inside the labyrinth with his son Icarus and seals the door, wanting them to die in there as a punishment. But Daedalus is a very creative artist. He's an architect and he's very creative. So he's there in the labyrinth looking up, and he sees birds. So he traps the birds and fashions wings for himself and for Icarus, placing the feathers with wax that he had found in the labyrinth. So he makes wings for them, and they fly over the labyrinth. Now, usually the part that everybody remembers is that Icarus flies too close to the sun and ends up landing in the sea and drowning. And Daedalus makes it all the way to Athens and writes the story. But the important part of the whole tale is the symbolism. Because remember, our unconscious mind works with symbols and with imagination. So, to me, the symbolism is like this. The Minotaur represents our own internal shadow side, our monster within. That part of ourselves that we really don't like and we like to avoid at all costs. And we put inside the labyrinth, which is the unconscious mind, and try never to go there ever again. And the sacrificial youths are our dreams and our plans, because many times we sacrifice who we really are and what we want to do because we believe negative things about ourselves that are in the shadow side. Theseus, of course, is the hero. He's the hero of the story. He's what we aspire to be. And when Theseus is able to face and conquer the shadow side, he saves the day and saves Athens and saves any further sacrifice. Ariadne is the wise part, the soul, the higher part of ourselves. And it's interesting because when we decide that we are going to become the heroes and we are going to save the day, the connection to the soul part, to the wise part, is established. And then help comes from ourselves, from our own higher selves. The tools that we need to do the task at hand come the moment we choose. So choice is a very important part, and a very important part of Theseus is that he voluntarily decides that he will save the day and he will go into the labyrinth to look for the Minotaur. Okay, then the tools. The tools he gets are a magic sword and string. String is the vehicle through which he can go into the labyrinth, into the unconscious mind, to face the monster and come out of the labyrinth. And the sword is magic. So here it's to kill the Minotaur in the myth, but we're going to use it as a healing tool. So I want you to think of the sword as a healing tool, a magic healing tool given to us by our wise part. And Daedalus is the creativity. So once the monster no longer resides in the labyrinth, our creative part can fashion wings and fly over the labyrinth. Okay, so that's the symbolism for me, and that's the way we come out of mental labyrinths, because they are basically based on negative beliefs. As we grow up, as we're children, things happen to us and we get hurt in the process because the way we grew up or the reaction of others is not always exactly what we needed. And those lacks of our needs being met or of things we wanted that didn't come out the way we wanted make us reach conclusions about ourselves, which become beliefs. And these negative beliefs are all part of our shadow side. We start aggregating all these beliefs into this part of ourselves that then we hide away because it's not acceptable. It's not lovable, like the Minotaur. The Minotaur is seen as a monster. He is the child of sin. He is something to be hidden because, of course, his mother went with a bull and his father tricked Poseidon. So he's the product of this guilt of having done things badly, in a wrong way, of sinning against the gods. So the Minotaur inside us is that monster of our shame, the things we really don't like about ourselves, or the things that we have been told that are wrong with us. So if somebody in your life told you that you were dumb, and that sticks with you, that I am dumb belief is somewhere there in the labyrinth. And every belief has a core situation that provokes it. Either it's programmed into us by what we hear from others, or we reach conclusions by experience of ourselves. And we reach those negative beliefs like, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, when we can't reach expectations, either ours or other people's. So that's our internal monster. Our shadow side is built of everything we don't like about ourselves. And remember, the unconscious mind doesn't know the concept of time. So all these beliefs have been aggregated one on top of the other until we have a whole persona. That's our shadow side, that it's not acceptable to us. Okay, so in order to exit the labyrinth and to heal this part, because of course we don't want to kill our inner child. It's hurt. It's suffering. Doesn't know the concept of time. So a part of us got stuck in that situation, in that experience, and is still going through the experience because we still have the belief. So what we're going to do, I did one of these. It's in 4 steps. First, the first step is always to choose. Without our free will, we cannot choose to be the hero. Here, first, we need to choose to do this voluntarily, like Theseus, to go into the labyrinth of our own free will to look for the monster and heal it. Choose. Then, be the hero and actually go into the labyrinth and look for the monster. And when we find it, have the tools handy to heal the monster. And the tools are going to come from our wise part, we're going to call on the wise part, to help us, on our own Ariadne, to help us with the tools we need in order to face our own internal monster and heal the child that is hiding behind the internal monster. Okay? So that's finding and using the tools to heal the child. And afterwards, when the monster resides there no longer, we're going to use our creative part, our imaginations, to exit the labyrinth. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through an exercise in which we're going to do this. But this works for any situation in your life that's based on a negative belief. That negative belief has a core situation, a core experience that made us believe that about ourselves, about the world, about other people, about whatever the belief is about. And we can use this exercise, this either the one I'm going to walk you through or these 4 steps, in order to be able to go into the labyrinth, find that hurt child, and heal it. Okay? So let's do it.